Well, hello, fellow painters. We're trying this live tonight, and technically at 4 o'clock my time, we should be broadcasting 7 Eastern. So we've got a couple of seconds. If anybody's going to be on board, you can chime in on the chat, and we'll get you involved. No minute. No momento. It's a little bit. And it's full. All right. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to In the Paint. Paint, Positive Alliance, Inspiring Natural Talent. I know a lot of people, when they first tuned in, they thought we were going to be talking about, singing and dancing and playing instruments. And we do touch on that. But the talents that we really focus on are the talents that we all have. And that is, you have a talent for attention. You have a talent for learning. You have a talent for so many other things that have to be addressed before we go out into public and present our gift. So we cover a myriad of topics. We talk about quite a few things and hopefully get people prepared to deal with presenting themselves and presenting to the world what their talent and gift is when it comes across in a field of entertainment. So this is our 7th episode, and this one is live. I decided to go live today and let you guys have an opportunity to, correspond, feedback, chat, say something. Let us know if you're definitely tuning in. I know a lot of people are growing accustomed to the fact that we were recording the episodes and definitely editing them before we broadcast. But today we're live. It's the holidays. I don't plan on being on long, and I'm probably going to have a knock at the door, so please bear with me. But today we're going to talk about 3's. The 3's habit is our topic. And the reason I chose this is because at the end of the day, 3 stands out pretty significantly in our lives. It pretty much describes like what we're made of. Most people learn that we're mind, body, and spirit. But as we go through life, we see 3's showing up. Some are everywhere. If you play baseball, softball, I know when I first learned, the biggest thing was 3 strikes and you're out. You had 2 chances, but that third chance, if you didn't get the hit, you had to go sit down. So we learned about the repercussions and the consequences of not doing something if you can't get it in 3 times. So that number stuck in my head, particularly about the sports and everything. Also, when I was 3 years old, I actually experienced a pretty traumatic scene, and I couldn't understand it. And I won't go into it right now, but it really stuck in my mind pretty much for the rest of my life. And that's the way childhood trauma works. It kind of has an impact on you that you carry with you throughout your life. Some people learn how to manage it, some people don't. So there was a 3 there. Also, I learned about the spirituality of threes when I started going to church at a very young age. And they talked about the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. They gave us three tenets of salvation: repent, baptize, and be filled with the Holy Spirit. So we learned a lot of threes in the spiritual context, religious community. Another way that we learned about threes and that threes was very prevalent. I'm going to check this back at the door right quick, guys. Um, and that was in the governmental system that we live under, or used to live under, I should say. But there was the executive, the judicial, and the legislative. So all of those definitely had an impact on making three a pretty important number. Um, I actually went out and asked a lot of people on Facebook and to reply and say what they thought about the threes, how it showed up in their life, what stood out in their mind. I got a lot of different answers. Some people talked about morning, noon, and night, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Um, you can pretty much go through your own mind and see how many times the number three has been, assigned to process, um, sports, and the like. But today, I would like to take a look at the number three in a different way. Instead of mind, body, and spirit, I'd like to examine something and see if you guys maybe could get with it. That is, instead of mind, body, and spirit, I'd like to say creator, which could easily be your mind because we can create things with our imagination and great ideas and inventions and all those things. And then the created, which would be tangible forms of that idea or that creation, right? And then when it came to the last one, I decided to call it something. It might sound kind of weird, but I decided to say the witness, you know, because we have participants who create things, and then we are obviously, can't help but be a participant as a created being or touching and handling the things that we create. But the witness, which is somewhat silent and invisible, but is on every single scene, at every single turn, every single moment, every day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days out of the year. However, the witness is invisible. You can't see the witness, but the witness is always there, witnessing you and all of the results and things that you're doing and, all of your behavior. So my thoughts went to why is it that we pay so much attention to the first two, but we pay very little attention to the witness, the one that we can't see, the one that most people identify as spirit. Um, in some cases, I think it might be because we are caught up with, the material world. We have to survive. We have to eat. We have to pay rent. We have to, deal with all the things that it takes to sustain our lives in this world. And we don't think that the spiritual part plays enough of a role to have more, reverence or importance than the other two. And I think that's kind of upside down because in my life, it is the spirit that moves me. It's the spirit that motivates me. It's the spirit that inspires me. Whenever I write a song, it's the spirit, in my estimation, that moves on me and gives me all of the music, the notes, the keys, the tempos, the bass line, the melodies, all of that, all in one moment. Sometimes I'll be dreaming and I'll get a song. And so the spirit is very important to me. But there are other people who are like, well, that's something they deal with on Sunday. And they go to church and they hear words that are spoken by, the preacher or whatever, and it informs them of things, but a lot of times they'll walk out and they'll forget whatever they heard that day. But in their mind, they've actually nurtured their spirit by going and attending church with other people, of course. I don't know if that's enough. So for me, I think it's more important to pay attention to the spirit first. I would literally flip the order and I would have the witness first, the spirit first, then the creator, and then the created. So it would be spirit, mind, and body. Because once your spirit is right, then it can actually fuel your mind to seek, knowledge in the proper way and then apply it to the physical. Now I know some people about that, like, what in the world is he talking about? But those of you who get it, I think you know and you follow pretty intently. So in light of that, I wanted to talk about something that I talked about in the second episode where we talked about the feedback loop. And I brought to someone's attention what I said my job is. And I want to reiterate that because as a co creator, a sentient being with my own mind and purpose, I choose to kind of direct the path that I go down, not being a victim. If something is challenging, I immediately go to using my imagination to try to, fix it. I try not to spend too much time complaining about it because that's not going to change anything. But my role and my job as a co-creator, as a procreator, someone who can think before acting or reacting, I realize that in every situation, what I am probably more benefited by doing is making sure that my direction or the path that I take leads me to love. Then that way I don't wind up arguing unnecessarily or resisting something that I can learn from. If I investigate it and say, is this leading me toward love? The thing that sustains me, the thing that woke me up this morning, the thing that gives me all of my faculties. If it's working in that direction, then that's what I want to do to guide the situation to that place. If it's not promoting that, I usually remove myself because it's obviously not working in my behalf, unless there's an opportunity for me to offer an option for someone else. So I wanted to reiterate that because a lot of times people will watch a whole episode and they'll laugh at somebody's stuff or they'll maybe frown or have an attitude about whatever they are looking at, whatever their feedback loop introduces and whatever they follow. And they won't get the message. And the messages are very clear and they're very pretty precise. And I'd also like to offer, if I say anything, particularly in the way of direction, first of all, if you don't understand, you have every opportunity to comment or hit us in the chat and ask a question. But if I say anything that's not correct, I would like someone to, whoever, I don't care, please correct me. But I'm just trying to bring to light and bring to our memory the things that are most important, the things that could set the tone for your life, and you would wind up having so many more beautiful days and pleasurable days than the challenging days. I know for me, all my good days definitely outweigh my bad days, but we give so much energy to the bad days and we drag them into times that wind up ruining a great opportunity for a good day. So that's kind of my purpose with this podcast. I want to offer alternative ways of thinking, critical thinking, but pretty plain and, kind of common sense. If we're operating the way that we should, balanced, making sure that our feedback loop is intact and it is bringing us things that help us to grow and to evolve. I want to talk about one more thing before I take a little short break. And this is going to be a short segment because it's the holidays. By the way, I want to wish you guys a very happy holiday. The one thing I want to talk about is how we deal with our children. For some reason, obviously, family can be the toughest situation to deal with in life, period. I can go and meet a new friend or meet a stranger and have a conversation, and there's no problem. We talk, we exchange numbers, and do little things that are not, you know, that important, but we don't clash. When it comes to family, it's almost like there's a clash every 3 to 5 minutes if you know people aren't mindful. And I was wondering about that, and I said to myself, why is that? Why is it that you can get along with so many other people, total strangers? Um, you can receive so much inspiration and support from so many other people, but when it comes to family, it seems like it is a little short, a little um, it's kind of missing, the support, the encouragement, or the feeling of that, maybe the expression of that on a regular. And I know a lot of families that engage in competition, you know, um, kind of covertly, but underneath they really feel like they have to compete with their brothers and sisters. Some families don't even talk to each other because they feel so different. And then some families talk all the time, but they argue all the time. And that's difficult to live through. It's difficult to experience for anyone. But I came up with a way that I deal with my children, and I feel like it might be a good way that you can maybe try it and see if it works for you. If I notice something that my children do and it irritates me, if it bothers me, if it gets under my skin, or if I feel angry or upset about it, instead of approaching them and actually trying to demand them to change course on command, knowing that it's a part of something they do, they're used to doing it, it's who they are, I immediately change the way I think about what I'm witnessing. And I look at myself. And so I know my children are a direct product of me. They act me, they talk like me, they're stubborn like me. They have probably more in spades of my attributes than I do, particularly at this time because I've learned how to dial stuff back. So when I notice things, instead of shunning it or telling them, oh, don't do that, whatever, or jumping right in there and trying to, like I said, elicit a immediate change on command, I go to where they are. I let go of my angst or my irritation, and I start doing what they're doing. In other words, I'm joining their side of the there. When I do that, I realize that first of all, what I'm upset about is probably not nearly as serious as I'm trying to make it. But because it doesn't jive with my timeline or where my mind is right then, or it's a disturbing my peace, it would upset me. But when I join them in whatever, I don't care if they throwing shoes all over the room, I will start doing what they're doing. Once I do that, I've actually solved the problem because now all I have to do is while I'm participating in their world, their agenda, what they got going on, instead of feeling irritated, I join in and all I have to do is change the perspective a little bit. Not even, it's not even noticeable, but change the perspective of the entire situation of them, myself, and everything. And have them look at what's going on slightly different. And at that point, my problem is solved. They usually will see a different way of looking at something and literally either start talking about, you know, their contribution and either accepting or rejecting that perspective. But my situation is solved. Even if the shoes are all over the place, that change in perspective has all of us picking them up and putting them someplace neat. And I actually can resolve a situation without having to come to them like, they're doing something so wrong. And as an adult, I realize I I should be able to practice that. I should be smarter than my children, stay at least 10 steps ahead of them. And it doesn't take much. It just takes a little bit of, you know, acceptance and change, changing that moment that I want to get upset and jumping into their world and being a part of that for a while. And my job while I'm there is pretty easy. Um, but most of the time, people will see their children do something and they get so upset by it, and they feel like they want to, lecture the child on heaven and hell and all these right and wrong platitudes and things they supposed to be doing, and aren't they better than that? And it makes the child feel like they're less than, like they've done something so wrong. And I don't know if that's a good way to relate to a child, particularly if they're yours. They're the apple of my eye. My children are queens, I mean, princesses and princes. And I would drive them around, do whatever they want me to do because I have to keep their self esteem intact. So that's just an option that you have in a situation where young people might be getting on your nerves, and you can literally guide them into a whole nother way of thinking when you join them in their world, making them feel any form of rejection over time, even if you're coming out of a place of love. Constant of just child behavior. Children do that. They're going to push the envelope. They're going to test the waters. They're going to try to talk. They're going to do these crazy little things because that's what we all do as children. But if I'm made to feel like I'm invalid or there's something wrong with me because I'm being a child, that's not very fair. So we might want to watch how we deal with our young people, particularly at the holidays. They are going to be off the chain, happy or sad. They're going to be at one extreme or another because the holidays tend to bring on that. But be patient with them. Get into their world and see what it's like from their perspective. And if there's a need, change it, not even a noticeable amount. And I guarantee you it'll go in a whole different direction because they want to feel like they matter. They want to feel like you're a part of their life. They're not just, a convenient or inconvenient part of yours. So I wanted to say that because the holidays, like I said, can bring a lot of stuff. And we don't want to get caught up in that and lose the spirit of the holiday. It's about love, it's about giving, it's about supporting, and it's about just happiness. So let's see if we can promote that this holiday season. And then back to our threes, when we're looking at threes, my three words are adjust your loop. You can do that with your young people by using the option that I put out there. You can do that in your life when you leave your home and you witness something that you starts to get you a little upset. Check that feeling right quick before you get all wound up because it's all connected. You have to understand that. Um, when your body goes into fight or flight mode unnecessarily, your cells are going to be in defense. They're going to start fighting. And guess what? They'll fight. If there's no real reason for them to be upset, they'll start attacking each other. And there you have the birth of ulcers, and you have high blood pressure and hypertension because people are going to fight or flight mode without a reason over small little things that don't really matter, that can be handled quite differently and get a different result. So try to be mindful of that. You know, we talked about destroying ourselves by our own hands and doing things to ourselves that are so unnecessary, and that's part of it. Getting so upset over a moment in time that is, first of all, going to pass and might just represent fear on your part. Why are you so upset? What are you scared of? Scared that you can't control children or control them in a situation, or you're scared that they're not going to learn something. You have every opportunity to fix it right then, but not with condemnation or judgment or putting them down or you know acting like you're disappointed in them. They're right where they're supposed to be, and they're more like you than you think they are. So in light of that, I'm going to wrap things up And it was interesting doing this live because I've never done it before. And next time I might try it again. But we didn't have any comments. Nobody chatted. So I assume folks are going to go and try to, see it and see if it was filmed and edited. And they'll see the live broadcast. So if you guys are enjoying the podcast, thank you so much. And please leave a comment, give us a like or something so we can know that we're moving in the right direction. We're going to continue. Like I said, I have at least 10 episodes lined up. And on the 10th episode we are going to have a party and hopefully a whole lot of fun. So thank you again. I hope I'm not too serious for you guys, but I just have to adjust these things because I want people to be happy. I want them to be at peace and to usher in, good times and keep them consistent. Okay. Thank you so much. And if you get a chance, check out the website, which is actually married to this podcast. Each one of us in the Alliance, we have a room that you can go into and get information for your life. You can actually comment and comment on some of the blogs that we have in those rooms. And you'll learn a lot about the Alliance as well as our purpose and what we're doing on, the internet. So take good care. Happy holidays. And hopefully we'll see you guys next week. Next week, our topic is going to be essence of the eternal. And we're going to talk about that. And if you don't know what it is, maybe you should tune in and check it out. All right. Thanks again. Our numbers are definitely growing and we're getting a lot of traction. So we appreciate you all for that. And we'll see you next week.